Don't hate on Section 8. All right, guys. A lot of misconceptions out there. The things that I hear from people about what they think Section 8 is, right? Now, Section 8 is kind of a generic term that everybody uses. Officially, it's Housing Choice Voucher Program. There's all kinds of different housing programs. There's NeighborWorks in Massachusetts, a couple different other ones, but we're basically talking about the voucher programs that last in perpetuity as long as the tenant qualifies, right? So they don't have an end date, and they're typically set by HUD, the standards. They kind of all work similar. All right. There's different housing authorities around the state. So basically, you got to have realistic expectations, right? The process, it's a government agency, takes a little bit of time. It's not something, they don't move fast, but they don't move slow either. You know, Different housing authorities take longer than others. Fall River Housing Authority, great housing authority. We have a great relationship with them. We have a lot of tenants through them. They're very communicative. They're responsive. They're great. So we like working with them. Other ones, not so much. Okay, but basically, housing will pay a percentage of the tenant's rent, anywhere from 1% to 100%. We have some tenants, they pay all of it. It's all based on their income. It changes every year. The tenant has to recertify. It's great. A little bit of time to move them in. It doesn't happen overnight. You got to plan 2 to 4 weeks. There's paperwork you got to do. The landlord's got to fill out. There's inspections, which is the next point I'm going to get to. But it's pretty straightforward once you understand the process. You have a good property manager. I don't know why the camera keeps going out of focus. New camera driving me crazy. You got a good property manager like us that knows how to deal with it. It works pretty well. Okay. The inspection process, guys, very straightforward. That is probably the second biggest misconception. The biggest one is my next point. Oh my God, they're gonna make me do all these things to my apartment. No, they're not. You have to maintain the minimum housing standard. As a landlord, you should strive to maintain the minimum housing standard. That's all the inspection is. Are there some nuances where they go a little above and beyond? Yes. Smoke detectors being one of them. Okay. They require more than what the Fall River Fire Department requires. Whatever. Once you learn it, you just do it, have it ready to go, maintain the minimum housing standard. I can walk through your unit and tell you with pretty good certainty what your issues are going to be. Done it enough times. As a landlord, you should want to maintain the minimum housing standard. That's it, guys. Very simple. Okay, the next one is the biggest misconception, is the quality of tenant that people think they're going to get because they're on Section 8 or some housing program. Guys, the quality of tenant that you get is the quality of tenant that you choose to rent to. Okay, every landlord in Massachusetts can perform a certain level of screening on tenants. As long as you do the same thing across the board and don't discriminate, you can pick the tenant that you want. Just because they're on Section 8 doesn't mean you have to take them. If they don't meet your standards that you set across the board, fair and equitable for all tenants, you don't have to take them. Okay? They have several evictions. They have issues with destroying apartments. So whatever it is, you know, it just is what it is. The only thing Section 8 is going to do for you is tell you that they meet the income qualifications for Section 8. So, do they make enough income to afford the apartment? Yes. That's it. Check that box off. Everything else, credit, rental history, whatever you choose to use, as long as it's the same across the board, that's on you. Pick a good tenant. You know what I mean? That's where we come in and help. Okay. Next thing you got to do over time as you get more units, build a good relationship with the Fall River Housing Authority. Like I said, we have a great relationship with them. They're awesome. They're very responsive. They work with us. All right. And finally, know your rights and responsibilities. Okay. So, like I said, it's the same tenant laws as any other tenant in Massachusetts. Okay. Section 8 just does a yearly inspection, which is fine. Like I said, you should maintain that standard. You can increase the rent every year. So they have their payment standard. It may be a little less than what you want for market rent. A year goes by, 2 years go by, you can increase the rents. It doesn't really matter. You can put in for a rent increase. They'll either accept it or they won't. After the first year, the tenant's now a tenant at will. You can decide what you want to do. Okay? Very simple. If you have questions about Section 8 as a landlord, you want to learn more, contact us, connect with us through the forms on the website. And I'd love to sit down and answer all your questions. My team's very well versed, and we can help you out with that. All right, guys? Don't hate on Section 8. See you later.